kind of an interesting week. Some tight games, a lot of down to the wire games, a couple of upsets. The first one being the Browns beat the Steelers 24-19. That was the Thursday night game. Browns are 3-8, Steelers are 8-3. That's a bad loss for Pittsburgh because they got Baltimore breathing down their neck. Russell Wilson, 270 yards, a touchdown, no picks. He's sacked 4 times. Warren rushes for 45 yards and a TD. Calvin Austin, the third, 78 yards receiving and a TD for the Steelers. Russell Wilson lost a fumble. They only get 1 sack. Dante Jackson has a pick. Boswell did miss a field goal. Brown, Jameis Winston, 219 yards, no TDs, pick. He sacked 1 time. Chubb, 59 yards rushing and 2 TDs. Winston rushes for a TD. Oh, look at that. Jerry Jeudy again. 6 catches, 85 yards for him to lead the way. Winston loses a fumble. Tillman loses a fumble. Myles Garrett has 3 sacks for the Browns. Nice little win for the Browns. Obviously, it's a little too late for them, but I think those divisional games, those divisional wins always make you feel a little better, right? On to Sunday. Vikings beat the Bears 30-27 in overtime. Vikings 9-2, Bears 4-7. Darnold 330 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. He sacked 3 times. Aaron Jones 106 yards rushing and a TD. Jordan Addison 162 yards receiving and a TD. Hawkinson has 114 yards receiving for the Vikings as well. Aaron Jones loses a fumble. 2 sacks for Grenard. Caleb Williams, nice game as well. 340 yards, 2 TDs, no pick. He's sacked 3 times. He rushes for 33 yards to lead the way as well. Johnson has a rushing touchdown for the Bears. DJ Moore, 106 yards receiving and a TD. Keenan Allen, 86 yards receiving and a TD. The Bears are kind of weird. They have offensive talent, clearly. They got solid receivers. Williams is a rookie, but he still looks decent enough. And Swift isn't bad, although he didn't do well this week. DeAndre Carter loses a fumble. Sacks from 3 different players. Santos does miss a field goal. So I don't know if that was in overtime or when that missed field goal was. If that was for the win or what. I didn't want this way. Every time it decides to fidget around. Lions beat the Colts 24-6. Lions 10-1. Colts 5-7. That helps with the wild card for Denver in the AFC. Although the Dolphins are making a move. Kind of just a workmanlike win for the Lions. I think they're the first 10-1 start I saw since like 1934. Almost 100 years. Goff, 269 yards, no TDs, no picks. He sacked 3 times. Gibbs has 90 yards rushing and 2 TDs. Montgomery also has a rushing TD. Williams leads the way with 64 yards receiving. St. Brown has 62 yards receiving. They get no sacks. Anthony Richardson, 11-28, 172 yards, no TDs, no picks. He did rush for 62 yards to lead the way for the Colts. Pittman Jr., 96 yards receiving on 6 catches to lead the way. They get sacks from 3 different players. That's a nice, that helps Denver. Colts losing. Dolphins, who said are making a move, they won 3 in a row. Dolphins are 5-6 now. They beat the Patriots 34-15. Patriots are 3-9. This was kind of a blowout until the fourth quarter. The Pats put some points on Drake May, 222, a TD and a pick. He's sacked 4 times. Gibson, 31 yards rushing to lead the way for New England. Douglas, 62 yards receiving. Hooper has a receiving TD. Drake May loses a fumble. 2 sacks from 2 different guys. Their kicker does miss a kick, but it doesn't matter because they lose by 19 anyway. Tua, nice game. 317 yards, 4 TDs, no picks. He's sacked twice. 32 yards for number 28. Not a great rushing week so far. Jalen Waddle. 8 catches, 144 yards, and a TD. 2 TDs for number 28, the running back, whose name I pronounce wrong and right. And Smith has 87 yards receiving, and a TD for the Dolphins. Wright loses a fumble. 4 sacks. They've won 3 in a row. They're making a move now, the Dolphins. And they have a fairly weak schedule. I think they got 6 games left. I think at least 4 of their games are weak. Not that that matters. Bucks beat the Giants 30-7. Bucks 5-6. Giants 2-9. And Giants are 0-6 at home. Mayfield 294. No TDs, no picks, no sacks. They get rushing TDs from 4 different players: Irving, White, Mayfield, and Tucker. Irving has 87 yards rushing. Mike Evans, 68 yards receiving. Irving has 64 yards receiving. Mayfield fumbles twice and loses 1. They get 4 sacks from 4 different players. I keep forgetting that they have Drew Lock, but they wanted to start DeVito instead when they've cut Jones since. Why are you not starting Drew Lock? I feel like he's better than DeVito. They want that attention. I think they know they suck and they want. Last year was a bunch of hoopla with this chicken cutlets or whatever the fuck he was saying. Last year it was a big deal, so they're probably trying to get whatever they can out of some marketing. He's sacked 4 times, 189 yards, no TDs, no picks. Tracy Jr., 42 yards rushing. Singletary has a rushing TD. Neighbors, 64 yards receiving to lead the way. Tracy Jr. loses a fumble. They get no sacks. The Giants are not good. Bucks making a move. They're still in the division. The race for the division. Elder Scrolls Online ad. Who was that? Bucks Giants. Cowboys beat the Commanders 34-26. The Cowboys 4-7. Washington is 7-5. I think they've lost 3 in a row now, so they're starting to crash back down to earth. This is a bad loss for them. They need to win this game. Cooper rushed, though, for Dallas. 247 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. Dowdle, 86 yards rushing. Lamb, 10 catches, 67 yards. Schoon, a receiving TD. Tolbert, a receiving TD. Dowdle loses a fumble. 2 sacks for Parsons. Picks from Golston and I can't pronounce this guy's name, number 24. Wow, Dallas had 2 kick returns in this game. Okay, so special teams clearly lost Washington the game here. Turpin, 179 yards on kick returns and a 99-yarder for the TD. I would think that was TD. That would have to have been the. And Thomas has 1 kick return for 43 yards, and that's a TD as well. Was that an onside kick return for a TD, the 43-yarder? I don't know. Wait, are you allowed to? I forget the rule. Anyway. Daniels, 275 yards, 2 TDs, 2 picks for Washington. He's sacked 4 times. Daniels rushes for 74 yards to lead the way in a TD. McLaurin, 102 yards receiving and a TD. Ertz also has a receiving TD. Bates loses a fumble. They get the 1 sack. Well, their kicker misses 2 extra points and a field goal. So he threw 5 points on the table. They did lose by more than that, but that still changes the dynamics of the game there. That's bad. I said the kicker's just been putrid this year. The Chiefs beat the Panthers 30-27. They won this field goal at the end. This game was, I think, closer than people would have thought. The Chiefs don't blow people out, and Mahomes even brought it up. He's like, I want blowouts. He knows. He's not stupid. He knows this will bite them in the ass in the playoffs if they're struggling with teams. They can't just keep winning these games in the last minutes on blocked field goals or losing, barely beating teams they should destroy. That's why he's like, listen, we need some blowouts here, boys. But they still get the win to go to 10-1. Panthers 3-8. Panthers are playing a lot better, though. I will say that. I'm pretty sure Mullins had a nice game. Oh, yeah, 269, 3 TDs, no picks. He's sacked 5 times. Hunt has 68 yards rushing. Mahomes had 60 yards rushing. Noah Gray, 66 yards receiving and 2 TDs. DeAndre Hopkins is receiving TD. I keep forgetting they got Hopkins. They had a couple of sacks, 2 sacks. No picks. There's not a lot of picks this week. Bryce Young for the Panthers, 263 yards, TD, no picks. He sacked twice. Hubbard, 58 yards rushing and a TD. David Moore, 81 yards receiving and a TD. They get 5 sacks from Clowney. They have Clowney. 1.5 sacks for him. No sacks. Their kicker was 4 for 4. And the Kansas City's kicker was 3 for 3. So the kickers got it done there. Texans lose to the Titans. Titans beat the Texans 32-27. Titans 3-8, Texans 7-5. The Texans are really taking their division for granted a little bit here because they will blow that lead. I think everybody else lost though, outside of obviously the Titans, but they're 3-8. No, the Jags didn't play actually, so the Colts lost. Levis, 278 yards, 2 TDs and a pick. He sacked 8 times. Pollard, 119 yards rushing and a TD. Calvin Ridley, 93 yards receiving. Number 85 has a receiving TD on his 1 catch for 70 yards, and number 15 has a receiving TD. They lose 2 fumbles, Levis and Jackson. They get 4 sacks of their own. Murray Jr. and Brownlee Jr. both have picks for them. Their kicker's 3 of 3. Stroud, 247 yards for the Texans, 2 TDs, 2 picks. He sacked 4 times. Mixon, 22 yards rushing. They do not rush the ball well, 17 for 40 as a team. Collins, 92 yards receiving. And a TD. Stover has another receiving TD. 3 sacks for Hunter, 2 sacks for Anderson Jr., and then a couple other guys get sacks. Jimmy Ward had a pick for a touchdown, 65 yards. Their D was doing their thing. They got a pick return touchdown, 8 sacks. That usually wins you a football game. And they didn't have any. They didn't have any return touchdowns either. Bad loss. That's another upset. That and the Browns over the Steelers. Broncos beat the Raiders 29-19 to go to 7-5. Raiders are 2-9 now. Them and the Giants are awful. Denver was down 13-9 at the half, I believe. And they turned it on in the second half. Bo Nix, 273 yards, 2 TDs and a pick. No picks. He's only had 2 picks over his last 9 games. He's playing excellent. He really is. He's 16 TDs, 6 picks now. His first 3 games, he was no touchdowns, 4 picks. So he's 16-2 over his last 9 games. So he's doing well, and Peyton's coaching him up now, which is nice to see. Finally, I think Peyton's starting to get into a groove as well. They barely run the ball though. 22 for 63. They do not have a good rushing game. McLaughlin, 44 yards rushing to lead the way. Javonte Williams, 8 rushes, -2 yards. Cortland Sutton has a nice game, 8 catches, 97 yards, and 2 TDs. I don't know how to say his name. It's Valet or Vel. He's another rookie receiver, and he's way outperforming Troy Franklin. He had 6 for 80, and he's only played like 8 games or 7 games, and he's doing better than Franklin. Franklin's not doing terrible, but they ended up with a pretty good draft because they've got this guy Ellis they have as a sack. He was a draft pick. They do have 5 sacks as a team. Brandon Jones has the pick for 37 yards. Will Lutz 5 for 5 kicking, so he had a nice game. I'll start at the bottom here for Vegas. The Raiders, their kicker's 4 for 4. Minshaw, 230 yards, a TD and a pick. He gets benched. Ritter comes in. 64 yards. They're sacked 5 times between them both. They barely run the ball, too. Sincere McCormick. Is that how you say his first name? Sincere. Sincere McCormick, 33 yards rushing. Jacoby Myers has 10 catches for 121 yards. Abdullah has the receiving TD. Ritter loses a fumble as well. They get 1 sack from Wilson. No picks for them. Denver's beating the teams they should. They got the Browns next week. Hopefully they don't lose that game. Then they have a bye. They need to win the Browns game and the Colts game because they have the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are at home. At that point, I mean, the Chiefs, the way the Chiefs are playing this year, that should be a close game. And the Chiefs might not give a shit at that point if they have home field wrapped up, but they might not. So, the Bengals game's kind of a weird one. That could be a tough game because the Bengals are good but not good. Like, the Bengals can pop 30-plus points, whenever they want, so they have to win the Colts, because the Colts and Browns game are both at home. Not to say they couldn't lose those games, obviously, but if you want to get into the playoffs, you need to win them. Packers beat up on the 49ers 38-10. Packers 8-3, Niners 4-6. I think Purdy was out, Bosa was out. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries, and they got obliterated. Yeah, Brandon Allen plays for the 49ers, 199 yards, a TD, and a pick. McCaffrey, 31 yards rushing. Not a great rushing week for a lot of guys. Although when I get to the Packers, that will change. Kittle, 6 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Brandon Allen fumbles twice, loses 1. McCaffrey loses a fumble. 2 sacks from Floyd. Jordan Love, 163 yards for the Packers, 2 TDs, no picks. Jacobs, 106 yards rushing and 3 TDs. Daubs, 54 yards receiving. Kraft has a receiving TD. Heath has a receiving TD. McKinney has a ton of picks. This guy, how many picks does this guy have? A pick for 48 yards. I gotta see real quick. He's got 7 picks. No, he was a Giants draft pick. The kickers for both teams are 1 of 1. That's still a tight division, though. That 49, the NFC West, is still tight. But now, the Seahawks beat the Cardinals 16-6 to take the division lead. Both teams are 6-5, but I would assume the Seahawks have a tiebreaker. The division is still a game behind the Rams and the 49ers are each game behind. Kyler Murray, 285 yards, no TDs pick. He's sacked 5 times. Another terrible rushing game. They rushed the ball 14 times, 49 yards. McBride, 12 catches, 133 yards. They have no touchdowns, obviously. They get sacks from 5 different guys. Garrett Williams has a pick. Their kicker did miss a kick, but he was the one that got the only points. Geno Smith, 254 yards, TD and a pick. He's sacked 5 times as well. Kenneth Walker, 16 carries, 41 yards. Number 11 has 6 catches for 77 yards and a TD. 2.5 sacks for Leonard Williams for the Seahawks. Kobe Bryant has a return touchdown on a pick. So we got some pick touchdowns this week. A defensive struggle that was. Eagles beat the Rams 37-20 to go to 9-2. The Rams are 5-6, but still in the race with the division. Eagles are, I think they've won like 7 in a row. They're playing fantastic right now. Hurts 179 yards, a touchdown, no picks. Barkley 255 yards rushing and 2 TDs, so he finally. A running back goes nuts. Gainwell has a rushing TD. A.J. Brown, 109 yards receiving a TD. Barkley adds 47 yards receiving. They get 5 sacks from 4 different players. Williams has 2. Matthew Stafford, 243 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. He's sacked 5 times. Williams, 72 yards rushing and a TD. Puka has 117 yards receiving on 9 catches. Cooper Kupp and Robinson both have receiving TDs. Kyron Williams loses a fumble. They get 1 sack. Their kicker missed 1 kick. Doesn't matter. So the Eagles are playing great right now. And Monday Night Football. Ravens beat the Chargers 30-23 to go to 8-4. Chargers dropped to 7-4. So the Ravens are now a game behind Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh couldn't maintain that 2-game lead. Lamar Jackson, 177 yards, 2 picks, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Sacked once. Derrick Henry, 140 yards rushing. But Hill and Jackson get the rushing TDs. Zay Flowers, 62 yards receiving. Andrews and Bateman have receiving TDs. 4 sacks from 4 different players for the Ravens. Justin Herbert, 218 yards, no TDs, no picks. He sacked 4 times. Dobbins, 40 yards rushing. Herbert and Edwards have rushing TDs. McConkey, he's always leading them in receiving. 83 yards receiving to lead the way. They get 1 sack. Their kicker is 3 for 3, though. So, that's a wrap on week 12. I didn't know who I wanted to lose. The Chargers and the Ravens. It was like whoever lost was going to at least help Denver a little bit. I would have preferred the Chargers because Denver got blown out by the Ravens. So if it came down to a wild card thing between those two, the tiebreakers, even though the Chargers beat Denver as well, but Denver gets to play the Chargers once more. Let's preview week 13 real quickly. Bears, Lions, Giants, Cowboys. See, Dolphins got to go to Green Bay, so hopefully Green Bay takes that game. Chiefs got the Raiders. Oh, that's right. I forget Thanksgiving's this week, so there's Thursday games. They're the Friday game, though. The Chiefs and Raiders. These are all Thursday games. Bears, Lions, Giants, Cowboys, Dolphins, Packers. Chargers, Falcons could be a good one. I hope the Falcons take that game. Steelers, Bengals could be a good one. Got the Cardinals and Vikings, Colts, Pats. Seahawks, Jets, Titans, Commanders. Washington has to win that game against the Titans. Rams, Saints, Bucks, Panthers, Eagles, Ravens is the game of the week. 49ers, Bills. And the Browns and the Broncos are the Monday night game. Whoa. Denver getting a Monday nighter. If Denver loses that game, I'm going to be pissed. They can't lose those games. But yeah. Week 13 in the books. 12, sorry. Closing in on the end of the season. 5 games left for a lot of teams. But yeah, thanks for checking this out.